dokie. Step number 29. We're going to build our receiver box here. And we're just going to build the receiver box. We're not going to install the electronics at this time. Like I said earlier, we're going to be doing a separate install towards the end with all of our electronics. So follow through. If you are installing your electronics at this time, I'll try to help guide you through a little bit of that as we can. So let's grab our receiver box bottom, and this is the unit 80081-1. You'll see that there's 2 holes on the back of the box and 2 holes on the sides of the box. So we're going to hold the box this way as we build it, with the 2 holes on the sides pointed in this direction. The part we're going to start on first is going to be the lid. This is the lid right here. And we are going to install, this is a waterproof box. So we're going to install a piece of the waterproofing tape onto this section right here. First thing that we're going to do, and we always do when we're using sticky, is use some denatured alcohol and wipe the part down to get any release grease off of there, mold grease, contamination. It just helps make everything stick much easier. So we've gone ahead and thoroughly wiped that down. And it's dried off. Now we have this small piece, very thin piece of stickum foam. So we're going to peel the stick back off of it. We're going to lay that right across this area right here. Try to do that as accurate as possible. Press it on. That's what it looks like. The second piece of foam that we're going to install is going to be on the inside of the lid here. And I just stuck it in there. If you take a look at the lid, we've got the little wings that come out for the bolts here. And then let's call that the bottom. The bottom of the inside. And we're going to install this on the top of the inside. So you do not want it at the bottom where the screws are. We're going to want it towards the top. So again, we're going to wipe this off. Get any contamination off that we can. Helps the tape stick better. Make sure it's dried off. Tear the stickum back off of the foam. And lay that down inside and press it on. Not too difficult. And we are not putting our electronics in at this point. So what we're going to do is, you know what, let's act like we are putting electronics in. The next portion that we're going to use is going to be the little rubber gasket here. And that's going to lay down inside of the groove here of the box. So if you're putting your electronics in, you're going to go ahead and set your receiver box in there. If you're using lights, you're going to set your light controller box in there. And you're going to run the wires out through this hole. So all the wires that you need are going to come out. Once you're fully situated in, you're going to drop the top of the box down and make sure that you capture the gasket in there. Make sure none of it's protruding out around, and make sure you're not pinching it. At that point, let's go ahead and put the screws in the top. And again, if you have your electronics, the wires are going to be hanging out at this point. The 2 longer screws, which are designated 416, they're 18 millimeter, are going to go into the front holes. Is that right? 416s, 416s. Yes, those are going into the front holes, except for, I'm just looking and they are a beveled screw, but there is no bevel in the plastic. Interesting. Maybe that's something they forgot to do. But we're following the directions, so we are going to put those in. You know, I'm looking in my extra screws here, and there are none that are a flat head. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and put that in just till it touches. And then the two shorter screws are going to go in the back. We're going to use two of the, those are 14, so those are a 10 millimeter. Did I get the right screws? Yeah, I got the right ones. I'm going to put those in the back and screw them in. Guess I should be doing this on camera for you so you can see. How's that? Yeah, I'm still looking at the directions, and it's telling us to use that beveled screw, and there is no non-beveled screws in the kit. So if you take a look here, these actually sit up a little bit. If you have some non-beveled screws laying around, you'd probably be better served to use those. You're going to want to screw these in just until you see the gasket cinch up, and so that there's no gap going around. You don't want to over tighten it. Alright, so that's on. Next thing we're going to do is to place the lid over your wires. Your wires are going to be coming out. And then, oh, that's what I did wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and take these two screws out. We're having fun now. Go ahead and put the back screws only in. And we were just test fitting the front ones. That's what we were doing. We were test fitting them. How do you like that? The reason that we are using the longer screws, it just became very obvious to me. We need to put this lid on first. And the lid is going to go on just like so, with the long portion facing forward. And that's where your wires come out. You cannot put it on the other way, it won't fit. So that's the way it goes on. You can feel some squishiness there because of the foam rubber. Come on, focus in. You can feel some squishiness there, but that's okay. Now we'll put our beveled screws in, and there are beveled holes for them. Sorry about the camera angles here. It's just kind of hard to hold this all together while we're working for the camera. Now we can screw this together. Alright. You're going to screw them in, and you can see as I screw it in how the gap disappears. And you only want to put that in until you get a little bit of resistance on the screwdriver. So close that gap, and then just a little bit more, and you're set. Now all of your wires are going to be hanging out here, and there's going to be very, very difficult for water to get in. Now, if you are building with your electronics, you're going to thread your antenna wire up through the bottom here, up through this hole, and you're going to put your antenna tube in. And we're not going to do that right now. We're going to wait until we put our electronics in. But your antenna tube slides into the larger hole, which is right there. And then we're going to take the small set screw. Once that antenna tube's in there, we're going to take this set screw and we're going to put it in the smaller screw, or the smaller hole, and that secures the antenna. Change hands here. And that's going to secure the antenna. That's what it's going to look like with the little screw in there that holds the antenna. Okay. Now I'm going to get out a couple more pieces and parts, and we're going to finish up with step number 29. So hang in there. At this point, we're going to mount our radio box into the frame rail here. If you'll remember this portion right here that we put on earlier, that's where it's going to go. And the portion where the wires come out is going to face towards the back. And you can see that there's 3 mounting holes in here, and those correspond with the mounting holes on the bottom. So let's go ahead and put these in. We're going to use, I was trying to use the wrong screw there. We're going to use the 3 very, very short screws to do that. Following the directions. You don't want to over tighten them because they can strip out fairly easily. So we'll put these screws, 3 screws in. The next thing we're going to do is to mount the ESC holder. And depending on what ESC that you're using is going to depend on what holder that you decide to put on. If you're using an Axial or a Castle, there are 2 different units that you can use that are already pre-designed for the right size. If you're using something different, they have a flat plate that you can use, and you'll double side tape your ESC to the unit. This particular unit is going to fit and mount into this last remaining hole in back, and if you look at the top of it here, there's a little pin area and then a screw hole. And if you look on the bottom of the ESC holders, there's a locator pin as well as a screw hole. So that will mount on there just like so. And you can screw it in and your ESC will mount to the back. With this particular flat plate, you can also mount it like so, flat, if you choose to do that. It's kind of hard to fiddle this whole thing around, but there's a screw hole in there so you can mount it flat or you can mount it up. We're going to not give away any trade secrets here, but we're going to use this unit right here for ours. So make the assumptions that you want about what we're using. We're going to find the locator pin, put that in, and then put in the screw. Alright, got that all done. Show you what it looks like. This is what it's going to look like when you're done. Go ahead and get your parts out, and we'll get started on step 30.